Well, hello there, Kansas. Doug Billings here. I'm in the studio of my show, The Right Side. I've been with you and the nation for the last 5 years, and I've been blessed to have over 2 million people a month watch or listen to this show. I've spoken a lot about the state of play in America, determined prayer, determined patriotism, and so forth. And I'm sure that most of us know when we hear the term determined prayer, we know what that means. We know, at least we have some idea what prayer is. But what do I mean when I say determined patriotism? In my view, determined patriotism is doing the hard work of making America and making Kansas great again. It's getting involved as conservatives in our local levels of government at the grassroots level. That's determined patriotism. Determined patriotism is going and sitting through a 3-hour school board meeting, not because you live to do that, but because you need to protect our children. That's determined patriotism. So today, it's with great excitement and great hope that I share my next step in determined patriotism. I plan on running to be your next governor in the state of Kansas, a governor who stands for faith, freedom, the future of our great state. I'm going to launch what I'm going to call K-Doge, a version, yes, of the Elon Musk and Donald Trump Department of Government Efficiency, where we will root out bureaucracy, fraud, and waste in the state of Kansas, such as you've never seen before. And that will unleash a MAGA-like economic boom. I am a MAGA conservative Republican. The template has already been created by Trump. We're going to implement it in the state of Kansas. I'm going to work with the Republican legislature to cut taxes and to eliminate a tax that I happen to think is unconstitutional, property tax. We're going to work hard to make that happen. Slashing regulations, putting Kansas farmers and workers first, all part of this MAGA economic boom that we're going to bring. And foreign countries who would dare to try to buy up our land, not going to happen under my watch. No foreign country will be able to buy a square inch of land in Kansas if I'm the governor. I'm also a pro-life champion, ladies and gentlemen, and although it's disappointing that we lost the Value Them Both initiative in Kansas, I believe that life is always a winning issue for us MAGA conservatives. We have the moral high ground with it. We value life. I'm going to ask the legislature to give me a heartbeat bill, and I will sign that immediately. Valuing life means also that we value our children in schools, the elderly, and our citizens who have special needs. I have a son who has special needs, Michael. He's 22 years old. He has what I call the divine chromosome, an extra 21st chromosome to be exact, trisomy 21. Some of you know that as Down's syndrome. Well, I wouldn't change a thing about Michael, ladies and gentlemen. If God were to come down and say, Doug, I'd be happy to make Michael a typical child for you, I'd kindly refuse that offer because you see, God has made Michael perfect just the way he is. He takes joy in the simple. There's no venom of prejudice or jealousy. He's almost always happy. We all could learn from these, yet there are woke liberal agendas and people who are running for office who would dare to suggest to us that these babies should be aborted because they're nothing but an inconvenience. Nothing could be further from the truth. We may need to rebrand our approach to women and unwanted pregnancies. I admit that. I have always championed women who are in those tough situations and challenged men to live up to their responsibilities as well. We love these women. We love these babies. There are alternatives to the murder of human babies. And we will make that known through compassion, prayer, and action if I'm the governor. I'm going to eliminate pornographic material that is in our school, libraries, and classrooms. This LBGTQ kook movement is over in Kansas. There will be no other flag, no rainbow flag, no other flag at all, except the American flag flown in classrooms across this state. And no one, especially teachers, should be hired using DEI criteria. I'm going to use my full power as governor to ban DEI and woke liberal policies, and I'm going to comply fully with President Trump's executive order to ban men from competing in girls' and women's sports. The transgender movement is a product of mental illness. God does not make mistakes when he creates us. He does not make gender identity mistakes. We will help those people get the help they need, but we will not let them talk us into mutilating our children because they are plagued with a mental disease. I will also comply with President Trump's policies on illegal immigrants and work with Tom Homan, our national security director and border czar, to help round up all illegal immigrants in our state. And if that means using the National Guard, I'll do it. And if that means that we consider in the state of Kansas creating a militia to help the National Guard keep the peace and accomplish the agenda items that we have, then I'm going to talk with the legislature about that. A voluntary militia, able-bodied men between 21 and 45, for example. We'll talk about that. But I think they could be there to back the police, back the National Guard, and help Kansas keep the peace. One example in particular was this black mass that was held on the grounds of our Capitol. I would have used the National Guard, the militia, and all of the law enforcement officers that I have at my disposal as governor, and that black mass would not have taken place if I were governor of the state of Kansas. We have come so far from what the founders intended. The founders did not mean to wrap Satanism in the blanket of free speech and freedom of religion. People in those days who did that were burned at the stake, and I'm not advocating that we execute these people, but I am suggesting that these actions don't take place on public property, state property. They can go, if they have a farm or a barn or their own home, they can do those things in the privacy of their own home and their own property, but not on Kansas state capitol property. And we had members of both parties say, well, it's free speech. We might not like what they say, but we've got to put up with it. Nonsense. That's not what the founding fathers intended. We need a governor who's brave enough to say this out loud. Why are we so afraid as conservatives to say this? That event did not have to happen, and it wouldn't have if I were governor. Nothing like that will ever happen again when I'm governor. And finally, we're going to make God first in Kansas, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to restore divine providence in the founding fathers' original intent. Prayer in schools, defending our Judeo-Christian heritage and values, ensuring that state policies reflect our spiritual foundation and the traditional family values that built Kansas and America. Kansas is the heartbeat of the moral pulse of America, and we will not let her, Kansas, slide any further into the woke, liberal, progressive nonsense that we've seen over the last 8 years with communist-socialist Laura Kelly at the helm. Folks, the Democratic Party doesn't even exist anymore. They've blended communism and socialism together, and they are clearly not a pro-America political party. Look at evidence of the obvious. I get worked up about it, don't I? And I hope you do too, because we have a lot of work to do. It's ridiculous that no candidate or no politician will tell you in these kinds of words and tone and conjecture and passion what I'm telling you, but they should, and I will, and I do. The other candidates won't. Kansas deserves a leader who's going to fight for what's right. Kansas deserves a leader that's going to fight for lower taxes, for stronger families with traditional American family values, the end of liberalism, wokeism, and DEI, and a return to the principles that made us great. So I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for your support. Let me know what you think. We are in this thing together, ladies and gentlemen. I hope to meet you soon on the roads throughout the counties of the state of Kansas. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. For the Republic, for Kansas. Cheers.